It's great to see so many people in a room together. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time to abstonish. Aviation has long been synonymous with innovation, invention, and proving the impossible possible. Amelia Earhart said, "The most effective way to do it is to do it." And so it is no coincidence that today, amid a global pandemic, it is the aviation industry which is among the first to find a way to do it and host a live in-person conference here in Hong Kong. It's not been without its challenges, and you'll all know that this conference has to be rescheduled, one or two times. But each of you here plays a very important role within the aviation industry here in Asia. And your coming together today has been instrumental in creating this small part of history. This conference is about community, and it's about togetherness in aviation. So a big thank you to you, and of course to our very generous sponsors. The key theme for this conference is resilience in the face of adversity and innovation in the name of sustainability. We have a packed agenda today, where you will hear about aircraft values and lease rates, industry diversity and leadership, innovative aviation tech, and the demand for private jets. Our panelists will also discuss challenges that are facing our industry, including macroeconomic issues, restructuring strategies, government relief, distressed assets, and of course, climate change. My name is Danielle Roman. I'm a partner at Marant, and I will be guiding you through today's event. So, without further ado, let's get this astonishing conference started. To kick off, please join me in welcoming David Costello, Consul General of Ireland, to Hong Kong and Macau. David.
Just to echo Danielle's words, wow. How long is it since we've seen this many people in a room? And really, before I want to start, I really think that, and I would like to show our appreciation to Paul, Chloe, and Ava for their perseverance, commitment, and resilience in making today's conference happen. I think these guys actually deserve a standing ovation. Well done, Paul. And actually, will you stay standing for a minute, actually, while you're standing? I want you all to imagine that each one of you owns 180 aircraft, commercial aircraft. And that combined total of 180 each adds up to about 27,000 airplanes, which is, roughly speaking, the commercial aircraft fleet in the world. So if we get maybe, say, from this line here across to sit down, so this half the room, if that half stays standing, and from this middle row across, you can sit down, David, you can sit down, and everybody behind. The ones that are standing represent the leased aircraft sector. It's incredible. Almost half of the world's aircraft are leased, and of which, and maybe you get the rest in this segment alone to sit, and everybody else over there stay standing. And just to see that bit over there represents Ireland's dominance of the aircraft sector. We know that 60% of the world's aircraft are leased from Ireland. Thank you very much over there. So today's, as we said, today's conference is entitled Avstonish, which stands for Astonishing Aviation. And even though I am the Irish Consul General, I really continue to find it astonishing fact that 8,000 of the 27,000 commercial aircraft in the world are managed from Ireland. And in Ryanair, we have the world's 5th biggest airline by passengers carried, or 8th biggest airline by fleet size. In a normal aviation year, an Irish leased aircraft takes off every 2 seconds, and 3 in every 10 planes flying overhead are domiciled in Ireland. But we are acutely aware this has not been a normal year. We live in extraordinary times where almost nobody has been left untouched by this pandemic. And even some of the humorous comments as I was coming in today, I noticed for many of you, it's the first time in maybe 15 months you've actually put a suit on. Well done for fitting into them. We've heard stories of COVID kilos accumulating. I know I went into the pandemic looking like George Clooney, and now all I see in the mirror is Kenny Rogers. But while it's heartening that we can come together in such numbers, it's over a year on from the original scheduled date of this conference, and it's almost 18 months, which has seen 170 million contract the virus and over 3.5 million lose their lives. So our sympathies are with those in the room and beyond that have been personally impacted by the scale of this tragedy. But we have reason for optimism. COVID cases continue to decline globally. High vaccination rates in Europe and the US in particular have led to lower infection rates. The airline activity continues improving, albeit from a very low base. But still, 30% of the global fleet remain parked. That side of the room remains parked as aviation. But the IATA figures suggest that there's a strong demand and improvement since February, so the signs are good. But more broadly, the extraordinary supports put in place in Hong Kong, Ireland, the European Union, and indeed around the world have helped to protect incomes and livelihoods and will ensure that our economies will return to growth. Just to mention at the EU level, 1.8 trillion out of the multi-annual financial framework has been put in place for a recovery and resilience fund. And that's bolstered by individual member states contributing to that. I know in Ireland alone, we have spent close on 40 billion euros over the course of the pandemic to protect jobs, income, and public health. This is a scale of investment not seen since the financial crisis in Ireland over a decade ago. Ireland went into this pandemic in a position of strength with a fast-growing economy, a labour market at full employment, a stable fiscal position. And while we continue to battle with the pandemic, our economic performances still remain strong. Incredibly, Ireland's GDP actually grew last year. And in the context of international supply chain, which has been really impacted, Ireland has played an important role in keeping COVID-related goods moving. We were ranked the 5th top global exporter of COVID-related goods by the OECD last year. And this was achieved through a time of national lockdown in Ireland and real pressure on air transport routes, as you are all acutely aware of. So while our economy performed remarkably well, despite the double impacts of both COVID and Brexit, some sectors have been badly affected. So like the world over, our tourism, hospitality and entertainment, and especially aviation sectors have been hit. Before COVID, for example, Ireland in 2019 attracted 11.6 million visitors from around the world. I mean, that's on an island that has a population of 7 million. It's a huge number of visitors. China represented our biggest number of international students in 2019. So these people-to-people connections are at the heart of what our global Ireland relationships are. And we're really looking forward to opening our doors again to all our friends around the world when it's safe to do so. What's been fascinating over the last couple of years is to find real Irish heroes that we really didn't know much about, particularly in the area of science. And Irish scientists have been at the heart of the global response to COVID. Some names you will be familiar with: Dr. Mike Ryan of the WHO, the pharmacist Emer Cook in the European Medicines Agency. But some may not be known to you, like Dr. Gordon Joyce leads a team of virologists who works on vaccine treatments at the Walter Reed Army Institute in Maryland. And Professors Adrian Hill and Teresa Lamb led the team of scientists at the Oxford University that helped develop AstraZeneca. So a key message for today is throughout the course of the pandemic, Ireland as a country has trusted the science. And perhaps the most dramatic and constructive evidence of our respect for science is the level of uptake in vaccines in our country. In fact, Ireland enjoys the highest level of trust in the vaccines in the world. As of today, the 31st of May, half of the eligible population of Ireland have received at least one vaccine jab. And this take-up has been extraordinary. 90% of those aged 60 to 69 have started vaccination. And of the 50 to 59 brackets, 90% are registered and 80% have their first jab. Virtually every citizen in Ireland over the age of 70 is now fully vaccinated. This surpasses all of the European Union stats. And so one message for you today is I commend each and every one of you that are here today for trusting the science and getting vaccinated. This is our way forward, and it's the only way through this pandemic. So well done, everybody. International connectivity is critical to Ireland's success and our place in the world, and many jobs and livelihoods across the country depend on this. As a small open economy and as gateways to our respective continents, the same might be said for Hong Kong. And so at the most recent meeting of European leaders, Ireland confirmed its support for the EU digital COVID certificates for travel within the European Union. And last week, the government agreed to fully operate that scheme from the 19th of July. And this and vaccines will facilitate the return to international travel in accordance with clear and safety protocols. But to pivot back to my opening comments, Ireland is the leading centre for aircraft leasing globally and has a high growth sector of international financial services. This is something we as a country are extremely proud of. We're proud of the over 50 of the world's leading companies that are based in Ireland, including 14 of the world's top 15 lessors. Our enviable legal and regulatory framework, which includes over 70 double taxation agreements, and our innovation in education, having rolled out the first European Masters in Aviation Finance. So the message is quite clear. Our government and state agencies work collaboratively with the industry to ensure Ireland retains this leading position. And in this spirit, I'm delighted to be with you here today, to have an opportunity to listen to the challenges faced by you, the industry, and to feed these messages back to decision makers in Ireland. So finally, I just want to wish you a great conference today, and I look forward to seeing you during the day. Thank you.
So the aviation industry has not been the only ones dealing with the impact from the pandemic. And proceeds from this event will be donated, including to Mother's Choice, an orphanage right here in Hong Kong. So I'd like to invite Alia Ares, CEO of Mother's Choice, to say a few words.
You know, I am so incredibly humbled to be here today amidst such an impressive lineup of speakers. Now, Mother's Choice is actually a small, local, grassroots charity right here in Hong Kong that helps the many babies and children without families and pregnant teenagers in our city. And so, to be honest, I was actually kind of nervous about what I could possibly share to a room full of such accomplished professionals from the aviation industry. But then I saw your theme, resilience in the face of adversity, innovation in the name of sustainability. And it's this conference theme, it's the reason why you're all here. It's a succinct and accurate reflection of who and where we are at Mother's Choice. This has been a time of truly unprecedented challenge and adversity for us. With the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the already difficult conditions that we face every day have only intensified. Recent news headlines of child abuse in Hong Kong barely scratch the surface, as we have seen the needs of vulnerable babies and girls that we serve only increase. We've seen more girls call in for help with greater complexity and trauma in their stories, and we've had to recruit something like 116% more foster families to cope with the huge influx of children who need a safe place to stay, while at the same time dealing with greater restrictions on the number of volunteers that we can accommodate in our childcare home. Now, despite the challenges that we've faced and that you have undoubtedly faced in the aviation industry, I'm actually here today because I want to tell you that I have great hope. Because even though this has been a season of unprecedented challenge, I believe that this is also a season of unprecedented opportunity. We've all been forced to find new ways to do what we do, and that's true for us at Mother's Choice. We've had to find new ways to serve vulnerable children and young women in our city, and look around the world for creative solutions so that we can pioneer new models that bring real, intergenerational, life-transforming change to our community. Just like each one of you here, we're choosing to be resilient, and we're choosing to be hopeful so that we can make our vision of every child in a loving family a reality. And I know that this is actually possible because we're not doing it alone. Now, our mission at Mother's Choice is to join hands with the community to give hope and change life stories. And as you in the aviation industry have joined hands with us today, we do have hope that we can change life stories. And I believe that we can make our city and this world a better place for children. So I want to tell you that we're so incredibly grateful for your generosity and support for Mother's Choice. I don't think I've ever heard of an aviation industry conference making it nonprofit and donating to charity. It's just incredibly innovative and powerful at this time. And so I really just want to end by saying thank you. And I want to show you this simple video that I think captures our heart of gratitude for you. And I wish you all a wonderful conference.